Alright folks, today we are opening the curtain to explain something massive. It isn't just another trade dispute. This is a full-blown economic war being waged onto the world by a man who has turned extortion his style of politics. We're talking about Donald Trump and his maximum pressure playbooks. Actually a four-step strategy that got middle powers like Canada, the EU and UK trapped into a corner for now. Here's the breakdown of what we are covering today. First, the Arsonist's method, how Trump deliberately breaks the global system to create chaos. Second, the trap, why middle powers like Canada get squeezed the hardest and are forced to pay just to survive. Third, the suffering, how real people, ordinary Americans, Canadians and Europeans are paying the price with higher cost and economic anxiety. And fourth, the pivot. Mark Carney's two-pronged strategy to reshape the world and build a sustainable trading system that could last for ages. Today's video is part one of a three-part miniseries. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly how Trump operates, plus why and how the world is finally fighting back. Imagine a guy walks into a crowded room, flips over the table, smashes all dishes and sets the curtain on fire. Everyone panics, people screaming, and losing their mind. And then this guy, the one with the matches, starts shouting, "Don't worry folks, only I can fix this. And I will. Just give me what I want, and I'll put out the fire." That's Donald Trump's Arsonists and Firefighter strategy in a nutshell. Political scientists and trade economists have a special name for this. They call it Trump's four-step maximum pressure negotiation playbook. And it works like a charm if you are a sociopath, who likes holding people hostage, that is. Step 1. This is the part where the orange fascist gangster drops the bomb. He threatens to end NAFTA, imposes 100% tariffs on the EU, or puts 25% global tax on everything. It's designed to be so extreme that it catches everyone completely off guard. He literally threatened to destroy the economic architecture of the world in one swoop. Step 2. Here comes the psychological torture. He lets the threat simmer. Market starts declining, supply chains freeze up. The targeted countries, especially smaller ones like Canada, get hit hard. Because for middle powers, the US market is traditionally the only game in town. If you lose access to that, your economy is toast. Trump knows that. Trump uses that. He doesn't care if a few economies collapse in the meantime. In fact, it helps his cause. Step 3. Once the target is sufficiently terrified, Trump demands immediate unilateral policy changes. This is the pay-to-play moment. You want to avoid total economic destruction? Fine. Change your laws, increase defense spending, tear up your digital service taxes, and don't you dare to import Chinese electric vehicles. Then, and only then, will I let you earn the right to negotiate on my table. Step 4. If you give in, he declares victory. Crisis is over, he's the hero, he fixed it. The final deal usually looks awful like original deal, just with a few tweaks, benefiting him alone. But the illusion of dominance is secured. He gets to look like the tough guy, and we look like the suckers. So, why does this work so well? Okay, it comes down to the structural weakness in the global economy. You see, the US consumer market is the biggest, richest, most desirable market on earth. If you are a country like Canada, you are essentially addicted to it. And here is where the strategy gets a little sinister. Because the orange fascist gangster doesn't apply this pressure to his adversaries. He applies it to his allies. Think about that. Canada, Japan, Germany, the UK, those are democracies that have been loyal partners to the US for decades. But precisely because they are so invested in that relationship, they are now structurally vulnerable. They have far more to lose than Russia and China. So, When Trump threatens them, they cave, because they have to. That's the brutal reality. Middle powers are wealthy, but they are dependent. They need predictable and open markets, just to survive. Trump and his cronies exploit this by forcing them to compete against each other, instead of bonding together to form a coalition against the US. They all rush to the White House and beg for the best deal. They play a divide and conquer game, where they are the ones being divided. The panic is real, folks. For example, when Trump threatens baseline tariffs, Canada didn't wait for a coalition. It immediately changed its domestic laws, pledged to tighten supply chains, and re-evaluated taxes just to survive. But this strategy clearly was not working, and that's why leaders like Carney now taking a different approach. Okay, so the orange conman in the White House is shaking down his allies. But here's the dirty little secret. He's doing the exact same thing to his own people. For small and mid-income Americans, the pain at home is real. Tariffs are a tax on the poor. It's a fact, plain and simple. Economists estimate that over 70% of tariff costs are passed directly to consumers. The average American household is paying between $1,100 and $1,400 more a year, thanks to those import taxes. And because lower-income families spend a bigger chunk of their paychecks on everyday goods, it hits them like a truck. The tax cuts and domestic policies tilt benefits heavily towards large corporations and the top 1%. The bottom 20% actually saw a net loss in resources, while the ultra-rich get massive windfalls. Typical for Trump's America, I would say. To pay for the tax cuts to his buddies, the orange conman gutted programs. We're talking about the largest cuts to SNAP in US history. Nearly $187 billion pulled from a program that feeds over 40 million Americans. Trump also cuts back on Medicare and healthcare. Trump just announced 100% tariffs against the EU and UK over the digital service tax. A tax designed to make American tech giants like Amazon and Google pay a fair share. The impact of those tariffs is catastrophic. French wine, German cars, Italian luxury goods, British aerospace components, the entire premium export market to the US just evaporates. It's an immediate economic shock that could wipe out billions in revenue and destroy months of diplomatic work. So, where does this leave the world? Desperate. And that's where Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, enters the battlefield. Carney, a former central banker who understands financial systems better than most, knows exactly what Trump is doing. He's launched a two-pronged strategy to counter it. Carney is trying to fix the immediate situation to keep the Canadian economy afloat. Because we can't create a world for tomorrow if we die today. He's playing nice with Trump to protect the auto, forestry and energy sectors. He's even framed his approach as a partnership to help make America great again, just to stop the bleeding. This is the diplomatic code switch, acting like a submissive partner to the conman's face. But behind the scene, Carney is feverishly building an alternative. He is working, so far successfully, to unify the middle powers, the EU, Australia, Japan, the UK, into a parallel economic entity that can withstand being cut off from the US. He even went to the World Economic Forum in Davos and basically told the world, stop waiting for sanity to return. It's not coming back. Because the next Trump is already waiting in line. Because the power behind the orange conman is doing what they call institutionalizing Trumpism in America. And because of that, Carney wants to build a world where middle powers are no longer trapped in a corner. He's working on trade deals with China, the Philippines, and many countries to reduce Canada's 70% dependency on the US market for good. we have established that he's hurt his own people, his own allies, and that he doesn't give a shit. And we have established that Carney is fighting back. But here is the million-dollar question I'm addressing in my video number 2. Is it really possible to break free? We've seen the desperation. We've seen the trap. We hear people talking about decoupling. But is there really a realistic path to strategic autonomy? Can a coalition of middle powers actually decouple from the US? To the point where they could make free, unpressured decisions about when and how to trade? In tomorrow's video, I'm pulling back the curtain on the mechanics Carney is using to do just that. And we explore if there are any historical precedents of countries successfully escaping superpower domination. We're going to look at what Mark Carney is doing to bypass the US landmass. And we're going to ask the tough question of all. Does the world have the political stamina to accept the short-term pain to win long-term freedom? And what about after Trump? What's going to happen then? I'll tell you. You do not want to miss this. So here's today's question for you. Do you think middle powers like Canada and the EU actually have the guts to cut ties with the US if they are ready? Or will they always cave under pressure? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and make sure you hit the like button so you don't miss tomorrow's massive reveal. See you in 24 hours. Thanks for watching. I'm Wilfried Lemkola with Europe Curious, where we don't just repeat the daily headlines, but open the curtain so you can see for yourself what's really behind it. See you tomorrow.